Welcome to week 2 of this program, Grow Your Strength. I'm going to start the day with some breathing. You can choose to breathe in a seated position, face down or face up. I'm going to take myself to a face up position and just micro adjust my posture through my head and neck, shoulders, just checking the curve of my low back, making sure I'm not sitting with a big arch or pop, just adjusting my hips, relaxing through my body, my legs. I think I've covered all my body parts now. All right, so let's just focus on some deep breathing. In and out through the nose if you can. As you breathe in, don't think of it as just a belly breath or a back breath. Think of the whole cylinder, creating some expansion deep into your core box. And as you exhale, everything just recoils naturally as the air comes out. Inhale, deep expansion. Exhale, recoiling. After your next breath cycle, slowly move into the hands and knees position, taking some time to roll through your back, rounding up gently and down. I like to make sure I take the weight through my fingers as well as the palm, not just sitting at the base of my wrist. Have the hands and knees wide enough that you have enough room to just slowly move through your shoulders and hips as you round your back up. That's flexion. Let your head be heavy. I like to start in my low back and just slowly move my front side down towards the floor, dropping my chest a little bit, working my shoulder blades together, and gently looking up. If you tend to be a shoulder to ear type person, you might want to pull your shoulders down away from your ears so there's less of a shrug. One more cycle through this. Reminder that flexion and extension is a primal movement for our spine. And if you establish it, your movement on a regular basis, everything else is going to move better because of that improved movement. Okay, bringing the hands under the shoulders, we'll go into opposite arm and leg reaches. I brought my knees in a little as well. You can gently tuck your back toes. It might give you a little more stabilization as you come off into a diagonal reach. So as you go through some different reaches, I'll cue some variations side to side. You want to try and not shift. So the level of the shoulders and the level of the hips stays stable. And that would include your low back curve. One of the things that we see a lot is when people extend out, they drop down and put a lot of pressure through their back. It's normal to have a lower lumbar curve, but not an extended one. And this is core connection and the ability for you to keep your core set as you go into these reaches. So a full push back through the heel, extending the knee, bringing the hand out with the palm rotated in and the thumb to the roof. You can start to feel a real strong connection through the backside of your body. We call that the posterior chain of your core. And I think that's enough on that one today. Half kneeling. So in half kneeling, if you have sensitive knees, maybe a cushion under your knee. You can take some time to level your hips, So if I put my hand on my hip bones, I kind of bring this up to my armpit and then kind of level it out. Once you feel level, some pulses forward, tracking the knee over the midfoot, just taking some time to open up your toes and connect to the floor. You can pull your heel in a little bit if you want to get some more work through the mobility of your ankle. So I just pulled it in, trying to keep my heel down. So you might notice tendency to lift, work that edge of your ability where you can keep the heel down. After a few pulses, front ways, take your leg out to the side and same thing. Now I'm feeling a little stretch through my inner thighs into my hips. I can pull my heel in again and just get the sense that I'm opening up, creating some space, some stretch response. In this program, I'm working on half kneeling balance before we move on. So you're walking your foot back towards the midline of your front knee. And if I'm really in line here, I'm going to have a lot of feedback, a lot of activity to stay balanced. So there's a little bit in my ankle, in my hips. I can lightly squeeze my hips and then release, so I'm not over squeezing to stay upright. Those little micro adjustments that you make to stay balanced are good because they're kind of activating the little muscles in your hip stability, core. Balance is complex. There's a big visual component. So I'm not going to close my eyes with my foot right in line because I know I'll probably topple over. I'll just open it a little bit. But if I was to close my eyes for a moment or blink, you can feel even more feedback coming through what you need to stay upright. I often emphasize two things, posture and breath. So you want to keep the posture as upright as possible, not leaning back or squeezing your hips too tight. And you want to try to establish that good breathing when you're in these positions. I mean, why not? We might as well practice it. Okay, so we'll switch the down knee now. Go through our stretches again. So leveling, pulsing the knee forward, checking how close your heel is. Open up the toes. That posture and breath thing comes up with a lot of the exercises. The tendency to hold your breath if the body doesn't feel safe or wants to give you sort of more intra-abdominal stabilization and pressure. There is a piece of that through exercise, but it's not unless you're training at a higher level where you might be going for more maximal lifts and things such as that, certain sports. So not really for what we're doing here, but there's always goals. Okay, so there's my few pulses. Now I'm going to walk that foot back and see how I do with my inline. So relaxing my shoulders. I'm pretty much talking to myself here, just not holding that tension, not leaning back. So stack my rib cage. Can I blink or close my eyes? So maybe I'll take my foot just a bit wider for that. Really safe way to practice balance because you're already halfway to the floor. But if you put an ottoman or a chair here, pillow under your knee, something on both sides, you're very safe to practice these positions for up to a minute or so on each side. Frog rocks are next. So back to hands and knees, a little wider with the knees so that as you sit your hips back, you can feel some stretch through your hips. Sometimes with the frog rocks, you see people kind of flexing and rounding. That's not necessarily going to hurt you, but I consider this sort of a warm-up for the squat. So sitting down with a neutral back, good practice to have for when you're standing and doing a squat. You don't want the position of your back to move under load. You can shift the weight over to one side, circle through your hips to the other side, come forward, weight shift into your hands, maybe switch direction. Sometimes with the frogs, I turn my feet out, so I really try and get some good connection with my inside of my ankle. And as I sit back, I can feel the difference between my left foot and my right foot. I feel a little tighter when I shift the weight over to my left. It's a good way to warm up the neck by gently turning and looking over your shoulder. Don't move through the neck too quickly. Be curious with your eyes though, and just try to mobilize, move it a little bit differently. Maintain that neck movement for safety. We'll take it from here to our knee bends and ankle work. Always one of my favorite parts of the class. Just get to lie back and adjust the posture. I use this strap with a loop. It's a bit elasticized. And I like doing this work with my non-working leg straight. But I used to have it bent because that felt better on my back. But over time, I've gotten a little better at extending it out and having it feel okay this way. So adjusting my shoulders and chin. 3 to 5 of these moves, just trying to get full extension through the knee. Pushing the heel to the roof. I'm pulling my toes down and spreading my toes. If you're really tight, you can back the leg off further. So find that place that you can put all these tissues at length. Holding the extended position, start to open the toes and work your ankle. Point the toes to the roof, pull them to your shin. Now I'm rolling the sole of my foot in and out. I'm just trying different angles, some with my toes pointed to the roof. And I'll bring it back down, and some here. Ankle here being toes to the shin. Some days. Okay, circle. Can you go a little slower and actually really just trace the ankle rotation? Quite hard to keep the rest of the leg still, particularly if you're tight and your body's not used to doing just isolated ankle turns. You might notice your whole leg kind of wants to turn. So try to break that down, and then we'll switch sides. So I just took a minute to adjust my back, refound my posture, and work on my knee bends. Spreading the toes. Holding the leg in the extended position, same routine. So point and flex. Rolling the ankle in and out. And those slow turns. How are you doing so far? So far, so good? Sometimes I get told my classes are a bit slow. I think this is a good time to say that slow works. When you're ready to load and ready to go faster, that works too. But I like slow sometimes. Kind of get my mindset and my body prepped for the training I'm going to do in the future, maybe in the future half an hour. So this is side lying hip mobility. I've got front hip rolled forward just a bit. So when I move my leg around in this big circle, exploring my hip mobility, I'm not moving through my back. I'm breathing deep. If you're not strong and mobile in your hips, you could have a much smaller circle than me. And back in the day when I wasn't as strong, I might have heard some clicking or clunking in through my hip. And this is something that you might want to see a professional, like a physiotherapist, about. But also, in my experience, is just like move a smaller circle, start to breathe deep and do some core training and see if you can get a little stronger, and don't move into the clicks or pain. Okay, so to some extent, I think a lot of us have those little quirky, niggly things. And I'm not saying don't pay attention to them. I'm just wanting to share that as you get stronger, things get better. A lot of things get better when you get stronger. It can be quite profound. Strong on the inside, strong on the outside. Help us deal with stress. Sleep better. Make better nutritional choices. Make nutritional choices. Not all of them, not all of them the best. Oh, there's always a balance, right? There's room for some moderation. So that's both sides, just nice, easy hip work. Okay, so we're going to double bridge and a single leg bridge, so combination. I'll sort of demonstrate on an angle today, so see if that helps you see a few things about the bridge. So my feet are hip width apart. Here's my double bridge. I'm taking some time to align my back. So if I have a big arch, I just tilt it down a little bit, not flattening the back, but I can feel my rib cage come down and the muscles in through here activate. Then I squeeze my hips, lift up. You want that line between your knee, your hip, and your armpit. Too low, you're not in hip extension. Higher than this would put stress on my back. So if you don't have the mobility and you come up and you're feeling this in your back, that's why you have to work on some hip mobility and some core strengthening. Okay, so about 5 of these doubles. Then taking the time to go into a single leg bridge. You can take one foot off and just float it there, or you can grab onto it, put your other hand over your rib cage. So you know you're not coming up into an arch. You're really just using that single hip, nice open foot, up, connect, down, release. About 5 of these per side. One of the things with the single leg bridge, because it is a lot harder, sometimes people get a little crampy in their hamstrings, so you've got to think about activating a little higher and then come up. And if you do get the cramps in your hamstrings, this is where you want to do more of that ankle mobility and stretching where your knee is in full extension. Okay, so there's the combo of 5 doubles and 5 singles. Second is bear hold or plank. I haven't been giving a lot of, or any, variations in standing for this program yet, but you could go over to a wall and do a plank on the wall. When I come to hands and knees for the bear, I'm looking for a neutral back, so it's not flexed and it's not super extended. I'm right in my middle ground. I float my knees off. I can weight shift forward into my hands and fingers and try to breathe in and out. You through your nose. Me, I'm talking, so I can't do that. But just 3 to 5 breath cycles. Are you feeling connected in your armpits? Have you let your head drop? Like all these little cues just make the exercise a little bit more effective. Take a moment to stretch my palms by bringing my palms up. And then how are your hands placed? Try to open up the fingers, not have any tenting of the knuckles. So really get into those hands, and then slight bend in the elbows, floating those knees off, and just give this another go. If you wanted this to be a little harder, you could step back into a high arm plank, activating the hip muscles a little bit. Nice strong breathing in and out. And then just take a deload off your wrists and we'll go into the seated row. I've done a version of this in the past where we did the 2-handed pulls for the whole set. And in this program, I've got a double and then a single. So I'm just working to check my tension works for here. If it's too loose, then I might have to pull my elbows further back, and this is kind of gonna not align my shoulder ideally. So here's a nice double pull, tension feels good. Now I can pull on the right, one side, on the left, and then back to double. You can finish those elbows at your side, but feel free to take things just a little wider, not always working in the exact same plane. Getting nice and tall on your sit bones. And both. There we go. And, you know, depending on your band and your strength level, you kind of know how many reps. It's like all of a sudden you're like, your technique, maybe I'm not doing that quite right anymore, because you feel like you might default into your neck. Stop. Okay, then the last exercise in this set is a version of the McGill hold. And I think I explained this one quite well in the video last week. Well, I think. Anyway, we'll try again. Okay, so one knee is bent, foot anchored on the floor, one leg is straight. You want to make sure you work on this torso connection. If I consider this your core box, so neck and shoulders, the spine in the middle, right down to your hips, you can control the rib-hip connection and line up the rib cage. So as soon as I do that, just that little teeter of my back, I feel everything more activated. Okay, now from here, after you've adjusted the sweater, you've got a choice. You can lift the head and the foot both. If your neck is sensitive, you want to give yourself a lot of support through the head. You could hold this for 3 to 5 breaths. Coming out of it carefully, release the foot and head. If your neck is super sensitive, then leave your head on the floor, find your torso connection and just lift the leg. This still gives me a lot of connection to breathe into, right? You could have your hands on the floor or take them off. An even harder version would be to lift and not have your hands supporting your head. Okay, so if this flares up your neck, then release, support. So you want to find versions that work for you. You can switch the top leg, give it another go, connect, lift. I would prefer to have just my fingertips on the back of my head, so I just don't feel any neck strain. You could gently press your tongue on the roof of your mouth. That can help to set the deep neck and feel a little bit less tension. I'll try one more here. That feels good. Now let's go back through the bridges. So setting yourself up, 5 doubles, 2, single leg. We get the hips up nice and level. Extend up, tighten up the hip, down release. 5 singles. If you're not ready for singles, then just stick with doubles. Good. Rolling onto hands and knees for the bear or plank. Remember to set up those hands. The back. Here's my bear. Nice deep breathing in and out through my nose, pushing the floor away, not letting the head drop. Some of you might want to step back into a plank, activate the hips a bit more. Slight bend in the elbows. Rest for a moment, shake out those wrists. We'll do that again. Show the floor who's boss. Nice deep breathing. Good. Okay, into the row. Take some time to set up a resistance band, middle of the band, around middle of the feet. The previous 6 weeks that I taped for the YouTube are almost all standing exercises. So if you happen upon this video and you're like, this doesn't work for me, remember the singles here, then go back and look for the previous set of 1 to 6 videos and do those for a while. There's some progressions for learning how to get up and down from the floor. And feel free to email me at sheila@sheilahamilton.ca. I'm always open to suggestions from anybody that's taking the videos as I write the new programs. Might as well write them for people that are taking them, right? So let me know what you need. Single arm, both. A little wider with the elbow this time. Not pulling into my neck. Working all those postural muscles. The back side of the shoulder, between the shoulder blades. Okay, we'll do one more set of the McGills and then we're off the floor. So McGills. Just roll my head a little left and right to make sure that I'm not taking tension in my neck. Adjust the midsection. Lift. Adjust my chin a little. I don't want my forehead to be too high or my neck flexed, so I'm just trying to lift my forehead and my sternum. Give my neck that support. I feel a nice strong connection here that I'm breathing into. And I'm releasing the foot and the head first. Roll the head again side to side and switch. Releasing. Okay, that's good. Got a good core series. So we start the standing work with squats. And so first thing we'll do is just sort of go through the pattern of the squat. Make sure everything feels good. Feet hip width or wider. Toes can be straight or turned out. Depends on your anatomy, how you pull yourself down into your squat. Everybody's got different depths. I mentioned this is like the frog that we did on the floor. So in the frog, if I come down, hips to heels, and I don't move my back, then I've got some safety for when I'm loaded. I don't want to have my low back flexing or extending as I pull myself into my squat. Really big on the feet, so open the toes. Whether you decide to train with shoes on or off, you can still connect with your toes. Generally want to breathe in as you pull yourself down to support. Exhale and use that gentle connection with your toes as you come out of it. Now let's load. So what have I got for rep ranges? Let's go with 8. So I'll take some dumbbells and do the first set with some dumbbells, just anchored in at my shoulders. Nice and comfortable. Check my width. Everything feels good. And here I go for 8 squats. Only to a depth you can control. You might not be getting as low as I am. That's okay. This is good. Shouldn't be no pain through your knees, through your back. Modifying the weights, the reps, right? Your width, how that all works. That's really important for safety. So work with your body. Next up, we're going to go with balance reaches. First, we'll do this body weight, and then we'll add some load. So I'm going to connect my foot to the floor, spread my toes, take a breath in, and reach forward with my arms and back with my leg. I'm trying to keep my hips and shoulders square to the wall and then to the floor. Using a piece of furniture to reach to can be helpful if you need that little bit of support. About 3 per side. The other thing with this is to remind you about the importance of breath. So if I breathe in and create that inter-abdominal connection as I reach, I'm going to make this a lot easier. Fully extending my back knee, pushing through my heel. And you can rebreathe at any time, keeping a little intra-abdominal pressure. And then stand back up. Here's the reaches with a 10-pound dumbbell. Instead of reaching out, I'm going to be reaching down. And I have a client that named this the Dippy Birds. So there used to be a novelty toy where the bird had a long nose and dipped into the water. And it's kind of similar, right? You don't want the weight to round your back. You want to be in control of your shoulders. Take the balance to one foot and see how my heel and my head are going at the same time. I have a slight bend in my base knee, so I'm not hyperextended or locked in my knee. See the difference? And breathing in again as I hinge and exhale as I come up. Now, if you're not ready for the load, if that threw off your form, then just go back to do another set of the body weight reaches. Do another couple of these just to even myself out. Inhale, chin's tucked in, neck is nice and long, coming back up to posture. Getting ready. Hinge. And up. That was my goofy side. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a sip of water and then we go into push-ups from the wall or the floor. So floor push-ups, 55% of your body weight. Might not be there. So walk your feet away from a wall. Get yourself set in a nice plank position. Pull yourself in. Become a master of an elevated surface. Could always bring it down to something lower like a bench, coffee table. And then when you're ready, you're setting yourself up for a plank position on the floor. I love push-up progressions. So first off, just find your plank, right? A progression might just be a tiny bend in the elbows and back up. Testing the waters maybe for a lower, where you slowly lower yourself down to the floor. Bend your knees and come back up. Ultimately, the goal, we want a good solid push-up. We don't want to go too fast. Feel your shoulder blades working, your whole shoulder complex working, so that it's not just an arm exercise. Okay, so last exercise in this set is the overhead press, 5 per side from standing. Here we go. Floating the weight over your feet. This weight is in my wheelhouse, so I can have the liberty of coming into what I call the rack position, opening a little, pressing with my palm forward. This feels good on my shoulder. I'm not leaning back as I press or leaning to the side to get the weight up. Okay, try to anchor in your posture through your feet. Sort of grind your feet or connect. There's a better word. Your feet to the floor and then pull back down. Okay, based on the weight you're pressing, just modify the reps. Make sure it feels okay. You're not shrugging into the neck. You can work the up phase and the down phase. All of these muscles working as I pull the weight back down. Up phase, down phase. Excellent. Okay, so let's go through this set again. I started with the squats and then the balance reaches. Inhale down, exhale up. Trying for 8. Any depth works. Make sure it feels okay on your body. Now, balance reaches or dippy birds with the weight. This could be 3 pounds, could be 5 pounds. You can get real fancy. You can start using a dumbbell in each hand. Remember, whatever you're using in resistance training, whether it's dumbbells, kettlebells, or resistance bands, you control the weight. If the weight starts to control you and you lose your form, you lose your breath, you gotta stop what you're doing. Good quality practice. Taking your time, not rushing through it. This is resistance training. I am loading my core, my hip, working on my balance as well. So maybe it's not just resistance training. Okay, so then we have the push-ups and the overhead press. Yeah, okay. So push-ups. Have an inner dialogue of how many I think I can do. And it's a good idea to also add some positive self-talk, especially with push-ups. This is a research study that I saw in the Strength and Conditioning Journal just this month. Of course, positive self-talk improves your strength and balance. Positive self-talk improves everything, doesn't it? Okay, so I say to myself, I can do 3. I got 3. I got this. I'm going to give it my best. Here we go. And I did my 3. Okay, so that's the benefit of the positive self-talk. I'm going to decrease my weight for my overhead press, talking through it, and just feeling out the shoulder. Let my feet open up. You pick your number. Now, the positive self-talk with the overhead press happens, the good mood happens whether you have positive self-talk or not. This has also been researched. Putting something over your head, even your hand, guaranteed to elevate your mood. And 4. My shoulders feel good. It was kind of like not too easy and not too hard, right? So somewhere in the middle. Okay, so our last set here, we got static lunge, 6 per side. So with the static lunge, that means you split your stance and then go up and down. Now I'd like ideally for you to be stepping back nice and straight, so no turned in ankles. You might need to do this in front of a mirror to see. You're going up and down 6 times, and whether you go forward a little bit and load into the knee and thigh, that's sort of a thing that comes with making sure your knees feel okay when your knee is right over your ankle as you bend. Some of you might just go a little bit, and for some, that might be a bit much. You could just step back and then step forward. You don't necessarily have to go down with the back knee. Switching sides. Okay, what else am I looking for? I'm looking for that the knee tracks over the midfoot. It doesn't wander in or out as I come down. I don't have my feet too close together. That would make it hard. Stepping back nice and straight, anchor in my back toes, and breathe in as I lower the back knee, and exhale as I come up. I'm not over gripping my weights. Got my posture nice and tall. There's a rundown of how you should do your reverse lunges. Now, if you want to do a second set in this video, you could either just pause the tape or finish and rewind and do a second set. Band walks are next, using the arms. If you have one of these loop bands, fabric band, both work. Don't necessarily have to have the band to get the benefit. So you saw me, I sat back in my hips just a little bit. I'm keeping some tension between the knees as I step out. I'm not letting things collapse through the arch of my foot or my knee, so I'm working hard. I'm big on this reciprocal arm thing, so try to get the elbows back, breathe. 2 to 3 passes, about the length of a yoga mat. Going to start feeling some work in through the hips. Woo! It's okay to feel a little bit of work and that kind of burn feeling in about 10% of your exercises, so no worries there. as long as you're not holding your breath. And then we'll take it backwards. Feet wide enough that I've got a little tension through the band. 2, 2. Okay, so again, 2 to 3 passes, feeling that work. We've got a deadlift or a hinge movement, and then a hold. Okay, I had made myself a note last week to demonstrate a heavier deadlift, so I'm carefully moving some weights, kettlebells into place. In a few of the videos, I've shown a lighter deadlift. So here's 2 10-pound dumbbells. The hip hinge movement, that's hips back, as opposed to the squat movement where the knees go forward and the hips go down. This is not as familiar to some because if you're mostly a walking runner, you've done a lot of squats, you do a lot of sitting, this postural movement might feel a little bit foreign to you, but it is a safe movement for the back as the hips go back. You just want the angle of the shoulders to be a little higher than the knees, hips, I should say, hips a little higher than the knees. So if I did lower, right, that might end up putting some pressure in through my back. So to start off with, I like to learn the hip hinge like this, just to the knees or back up. Now, rep ranges, 6, 8, 10, you know, getting nice and tall between each rep. Here's 2 20-kilogram kettlebells, right? So pretty heavy, but the movement is the same. I sit back, I anchor in, take a breath, and lift, right? So I've got rebreathe, hips back, hips back, hips back. Nothing changed. The angles, the set, maybe I took a little bit more intra-abdominal breath to support my back, but just to show you that we've got goals. We want to get stronger. We want to change the way we age. And so having weights available to you that are in your wheelhouse are important. As you get stronger, you're going to want to buy more weights, whether they're dumbbells or kettlebells. I'm kind of partial to kettlebells, but that's just because they're so convenient and, well, they're cute. Okay, so my opinion only. Here's a 10-kilogram kettlebell. Just standing with posture floating over my feet, 2 to 3 breaths, not letting the weight pull me down, right? This side of my core is working. You can separate the feet and hinge back and carefully transfer the weight to the other side. Maybe take the feet back narrower. You're just holding for time under tension, time under load. Some things that you might look for, okay? Won't demonstrate it with the weight, but from the side, you could be locking your knees and kind of like extending to try and take the load through your hips and back. This is where working on the feet and floating your posture over your feet is a good idea. That whole idea that the core is working because this gravity wants to pull you into your weighted side, but you just want to set your shoulder, you know, you don't need to over grip. All these kind of little cues are just really going to build the strength with this. 10 kilograms is not a suitcase, okay? It's currently, I got a client who told me their 5-year-old weighed 36 pounds. So this is not that 5-year-old. And so depending on things that you do in your daily life, you got to start equating how strong do you need to be. And so there's another plug for increasing the equipment that you have in your home gym. Double 20s might seem like a little daunting to some, but you'd be surprised that with good technique and a little consistency with your training, the magic happens. And there's no reason why I can't continue to explore some lifting, heavier things, certainly heavier than my parents' generation ever considered doing when they were in their 60s. All right, well, so thank you so much for joining and building a stronger version of yourself with me today. Growing strong never gets old. I got it right this week. Okay, let me know how you're doing. Thanks again for joining. Bye.